Baby Boomer fans, we are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River, make sure you are wide awake, and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, folks. We are so glad you are joining us today for this wonderful 1950s Fun Chat. Do you ever, Jackie, do you suppose our viewers ever say, you know, my story of the 50s is very similar to someone who I just watched on the Fun Chat? And we often hear that. And so that's wonderful. We're so glad that you're joining us and that you're getting these glimpses of the 1950s because it was a great time. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, very much an advancement in our United States in many, many areas during the 50s.
Yes.
So, folks, hello. Look at the bottom line there. It says www.wildthewindmillwatch.com. We ask you to go there for some information and for additional education about the 1950s. It is our website up to the book, which is up in the upper corner there, Wild the Windmill Watch, a slice of rural America in the 1950s. Besides all of the previous fun chats you will find on this site, our vendors, we have 49 of them right now. We have a variety of places where we will be visiting, signing books, speaking to people. We have things about information about the authors and much, much more. So today we're going to start with this question for you. I begin with these questions for you, and I was wondering if you might be able to answer them in your own mind. So, why is agricultural science important to you, the individual, as well as to the global population? Why is plant breeding important, and what does that term mean? We will learn the answers to these questions and so much more concerning plant research from our guest, Herb Schmidt. Herb was born in 1946 in Dickinson, North Dakota, the eldest of 13 siblings, and raised on a farm south of there. He graduated from Dickinson High School, attended Dickinson State University for 1 year, and then transferred to North Dakota State University at the other side of the state in Fargo, and graduated in 1968 with a BS degree in agronomy. And then he earned an MS degree in agronomy in 1979. He married Bonnie, the love of his life, Zastupol, Zastupol, in 1968. This union produced 2 sons, 4 grandsons, and 1 great-grandson. Herb began his career in agricultural research at a research station called DeKalb Ag Research in 1969 as a research assistant. His career continued in research and development in hybrid wheat, spring wheat, soybeans, and sunflowers, and he retired in 2002. Herb enjoys growing plants, hunting, fishing, working outside, reading, and the activities of Rotary International. Herb, we welcome you to this 1950s Fun Chat.
Well, thank you. Looking forward to some fun.
Yeah, good. So why is agricultural research, especially wheat, soybeans, and sunflowers, important?
Well, you know, that's food. And, you know, food feeds the world. In the United States, especially, is, feeds a good part of the world. But other countries need to feed themselves too. And, you know, the research not only develops the better genetics of crops to get better production, but also makes them more adaptability to different parts of the world.
Okay. So this is a 3-part question. Tell us about your involvement in each of these agricultural products and include the meaning of plant breeding. What does that mean, please?
Okay. Now we get into the technicalities.
Well, keep it simple for us.
You've heard of dog breeding or cattle breeding, this kind of thing. Yeah. Plant breeding is exactly the same thing when you're actually doing you're mating different plants to produce a different seed.
Mm-hmm. And when you do that, do you look at the traits of the male and the female, or are you focusing more on traits of one sex or the other?
Okay. First of all, there's two different things here.
Okay.
The first one, if we're talking about hybrids, we're talking about male and female.
Okay.
But there's such a thing as inbred crops, like wheat is naturally an inbred crop. Soybeans are naturally an inbred crop. So they reproduce by self-pollination. In other words, they pollinate themselves.
All right.
Okay?
All right. Uh-huh.
When you do the hybridization, then you need your male and female.
Okay.
And when did hybridization start to be used in plant genetics?
Well, I think if we look back, corn was probably the first thing that really got hybridized, and that actually started in the early 1900s.
Okay.
With corn, and then the way they did it was they had this field of corn, and they'd cut the tassels off of one plant and put a bag over the top so the pollen couldn't get to the female.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take pollen from another plant and then pollinate them. So they get controlled pollination that way.
Yeah.
That's how they produce the first hybrids.
Okay.
Well, what happened later
mm-hmm.
was they introduced a trait called cytoplasmic male sterility. And what that did was it caused the female to be sterile genetically. So they didn't have to manually create a female.
Was every seed corn company doing the same thing, or did someone initiate this hybridization as a particular seed corn company?
Well, I'm most familiar with Pioneer. Okay,
mm-hmm. Okay.
And Pioneer. I think the people who started Pioneer were the ones that first started the hybridization process. Okay, now it spread pretty quickly, and I think is in the later 1920s, maybe 1930s, a good proportion of the corn grown in the U.S. then was hybrids already.
Okay. I'm going to switch over to wheat, because that's what I guess I'm more familiar with in North Dakota when we grew it. And Dad would often, when he would buy wheat seed, he would buy it and use it, grow a crop a year. And then I know he would store it in granaries at home, more than likely to market it at a later time. But is that seed protected with a patent so that it cannot be used as seed the next year?
It wasn't then, but I think it is now.
Oh, all right.
At least in some cases. I think that depends on the company.
All right. All right. And what is the difference in growing bearded wheat and unbearded wheat?
Not much.
Okay.
That's a genetic trait, and some people like it, like the beards, because it keeps the windrow fluffier when it goes into the combine.
Oh.
Some don't care, so it's just a matter of preference.
Is there still unbearded wheat produced?
I don't know, because I haven't kept up with all the varieties.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, but I just always wondered about that. Okay. But going back, I know it seemed like we kind of jumped right into where you were in your adult life as far as your position. You grew up on a farm.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience, growing up on a farm in the Dickinson area, and was there anything about that childhood that really influenced you to go into plant breeding?
Well, just to go back a little bit, I was born in 1946, and my parents bought the farm, I believe, in 1947.
Mm-hmm.
And, so all I remember is growing up on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a airplane mechanic in World War II. My mother was a airline hostess.
Oh.
And after the war, they got together through my dad's sister. So anyway, I grew up on the farm with a lot of close relatives. My aunts and uncles were very close, and I grew up, just knowing the outdoors, knowing a lot of pets, knowing cattle. I remember going out to the fields with my dad, and in those days they were bindering and shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Bundles of grain. I remember going out with him and helping him. This was like as a 6-7-year-old.
Helping.
Could you even lift a bundle?
No, but I could help him.
And we're
staying out of the way.
Was the wagon pulled by a team of horses or a tractor at that point?
Well, they did both.
Okay.
And I remember the threshing machines too. And my dad wouldn't let me get close to that. But I remember the actual threshing machine.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty interesting to think about that.
That huge pile of straw that was produced. Uh-huh.
But then, I started school, and I think it must have been my second grade. I got rheumatic fever.
Mm.
And in those days, they treated rheumatic fever with a lot of rest. I mean, months and months of rest. Okay. And I remember going to school and not being able to go out for recess, this kind of thing. Okay.
Oh.
But at home, my mother was a great gardener. And so I spent a lot of time with her out in the garden. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of piqued my interest in seeing things grow. And that's still my interest. More than the finished products, I like to see things grow.
Okay.
So I think that's where all that started. The other thing with my mother then was she taught me how to bake. Mm-hmm. And, there's cookies and cakes and this kind of thing. And, today I still do a little bit of that.
Uh-huh.
I'm not very good at it, but I still do it.
Well, you enjoy it. Did she bake bread?
Yes. And actually, when I was a wheat breeder, I'd get these different experimental lines that I wanted to see what the bread baking qualities were. So I got a small mill at home, and I milled them and then mixed them and baked them and saw what the difference was between the experimentals.
How neat.
And it was really a rough thing, but it gave me an idea.
Yes. Did your dad ever have any relationship with seed companies back then?
No, but my dad was really interested in conservation.
Okay.
And sort of a lot of things that he did on the farm were related to conservation. Like filling in gullies and planting grasses, and they had what do you call them?
Shelter belts.
Well, shelter belts are one of them, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a steep hill and you make these
terraces.
Terraces, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So he was involved in a lot of that, and he was always interested in new ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and stewarding that comes with stewarding the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So what can plant breeders do to improve productivity and nutrition?
Well, it goes along with the same thing. You find the traits that you want, and then you incorporate them by making your crosses. Okay. In other words, crossing two lines that you really wanted, letting them segregate out, selecting the ones you want. And then when you find the ones that you want, we call it phenotypically. That's the way they look. Okay. When you find the ones you want, then you start going through the testing procedure. I think most people don't realize how much testing some of those products go through. before they're basically accepted and released, to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings up a question for me. How long does it take usually for a new generation of plant to reach the commercial stage?
Well, this has changed quite a bit. I've been retired 20 years. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
things have changed a lot. And, but when I was plant breeding, the quickest we could do anything was about 7 years.
Oh,
And usually it took about 10 years.
huh.
Okay.
But patience.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And you figure, okay, the testing, every year you test different generations basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you only get one set of data a year.
Yeah.
Did it vary? Because you work with winter wheat, spring wheat, and soybeans, and sunflowers. Is it
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a faster turnover of the generations with one certain
Green.
grain versus another?
Well, one thing that we did was, especially in my first few years with DeKalb, was we spent a lot of time in Mexico growing a winter crop. So we'd grow the spring crop up here, we'd harvest it, send it down to Mexico, and grow another crop, so we could turn another generation.
Yes, nice.
So that's one thing there. When I was in soybeans, we did a little bit of different work there, but we did have breeding nurseries in Hawaii and in Chile, Argentina, and we used them during the off season to grow another generation.
Mm-hmm.
Were you head of that in North America and South America, or how did that work for you?
Well, for spring wheat, I was I started with DeKalb as a research assistant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then then right after I got my master's degree, DeKalb transferred me down to Kansas. And you'll probably get a smile out of this one. I got transferred down there in their hybrid wheat program in charge of the female development.
So how did that work out? How did that work out for you?
So that's I did that for from about 76 to 82.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a good job, and I had really, really good mentors with that.
Have methods of plant breeding changed since the 1950s?
Like I said, I can't tell you the technology now. All I can say is yes, it's changed, but I can't tell you the technologies. I know when I was in soybeans, especially, was when we started getting into testing individual plants for the genetics. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd literally plant thousands of plants out there, tag each one, take a leaf punch, bring it to the lab, and they'd analyze it for the genetics of that particular plant.
Oh my, that's tedious.
That just started everything. And now there's so much work that's done in the lab, and the way they transfer genes now is different. So yes, it is a change. I just can't tell you what.
Sure. Did you have a preferred crop that you enjoyed working with?
I wouldn't say that. They were all really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And, I enjoyed soybeans because it was different. I enjoyed sunflowers because sunflowers are a native crop. You see wild sunflowers all over.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really interesting to be able to take some of that variability and incorporate it and see what you get.
Yes.
So the sunflower that grows sporadically wherever, is that the same sunflower? Or is it a cousin of the one that is huge and produced for the seeds?
No, they're the same. Well, there are different species of sunflowers, okay? Mm-hmm. But the one we normally see is annuus, Helianthus annuus, okay? And that's the one we normally see. But there are a bunch of different species.
Mm-hmm.
When you are plant breeding, is the goal to find the strain that produces the most bushels, or do you want it to be the most effective against disease? Does it matter how tall it is, how short it is for combining purposes? How does that, what does that vary from?
That's all of the above.
As well as more nutrition.
That's
So think about when you're researching hard red spring wheat, what was often the goal of that? Was it like one that produces more protein by chance? It's rust free or what?
Yes. Yes. And that's absolutely true, because we were always looking for higher protein.
Uh-huh.
We were looking for standability, so it wouldn't lodge in the field for the farmers. We were looking at disease resistance. Rust is just one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to soybeans, scab was being a big problem. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and nutritionally, and especially wheat, working with the bakers, they wanted certain mixing times. They wanted certain dose strength. They wanted varieties that produced a certain volume when they were baked. You know, so all of those things. That's one reason plant breeding is so interesting. It's pretty complex in trying to get all these different variables together.
Right. When we were growing up, soybeans, it was unheard of to grow them in North Dakota.
Yes.
And now they're grown. They're
everywhere.
very popular. Yes. So do you know when the interest in bringing and growing soybeans in the northern states of this country, when that became a central goal to accomplish, to make that profitable, and to grow beans in North Dakota, for instance?
Well, I think 15, 20 years ago, probably.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, it's all because of climate change.
Uh-huh.
You know, our growing season now is almost 2 weeks longer than it was 20 years ago.
Oh my.
So, you know, that made a huge difference. And the same with corn. I remember growing up, my dad planted corn mostly for silage for the cattle.
Mm-hmm.
But very seldom would you get a lot of corn in it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it froze before you could get corn. Now, I mean, they grow 150 to 200 bushel corn out in western North Dakota.
So what plants deplete the soil, and then conversely, what plants then enhance the soil after a depletion crop has been used on that ground?
Well, again, the farmers use a rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. And they do that because of what you're saying. Some plants deplete the nutrients. Some deplete the water more. Like sunflowers, for example, has a deep taproot. And if you get a field, for example, that's been planted as small grains for years, a lot of the nutrients have leached down in that soil profile. You plant sunflowers in there, and they reach down and get that. The same thing can happen in drought years. If there's water down there, the sunflowers will reach down and get it. Soybeans, on the other hand, don't have a deep root system. So they're more susceptible to drought, for example, or to too much water. But the thing about soybeans is they have such a quick recovery.
Okay. What is preferred as the rotation of crops in North Dakota?
Good question.
Well, you know, it always used to be a wheat corn crop rotation.
Okay.
Now I think you're into that same thing that you see in Iowa, is the corn soybean rotation.
Yes.
And they stick wheat in there once in a while. But there's other small crops too. But I think still the major crops in North Dakota are the wheat, corn, soybeans, some of the sunflowers. You know, there's flax out there, there's peas out there, there's dry beans out there, but they're all smaller quantities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what grains are not grains, but what crops are considered legumes?
Alfalfa,
Mm-hmm.
peas, uh, beans,
Hmm.
like soybeans,
Mm-hmm.
dry beans.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, that'd be all I can think of here
Yeah. Okay.
for legumes.
Mhm.
It is so interesting, I think, when you talked about the longer growing season in North Dakota, that when we've been up in North Dakota in usually October for our book tour, and it amazes me how much crop is still out in the field, because I anticipate that a blizzard could come by any day and
Right.
we'd be left out of the field, and maybe you'd get back in next spring to finish harvesting. But that's an interesting change for what I see versus when we grew up there. Is that
Yeah,
whole
you're talking probably mostly about corn and sunflowers being
yes.
out there, and that's absolutely true because they're later harvested, and your later maturing varieties are the ones that are going to yield more. So farmers tend to push the season as far as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they get stuck, you know. And I took a little trip on last Tuesday out into the more central part of the state, and there were a couple combines combining corn.
Oh,
really?
yes.
Huh.
How is the yield affected then by having to stay in the field all over winter?
Oh, I'm sure it is, you know, but it's surprising if you get a good variety or hybrid that's standing really well.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't make a lot of difference,
Hmm.
you know. Now,
And it dries down.
if you got a heck of a blizzard where you got snowdrifts all over,
Yes.
then you break stuff over, and then you'd have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it dries down in the field over the winter, so you
Yes.
don't have to
Yes.
worry about drying it. Okay. Yes.
Have you done anything or know anything about winter wheat?
Well, you know, I spent 6-7 years down with winter wheat,
Mm-hmm.
and up here they don't grow much.
No.
There are a few fields, but it's pretty tough to get a good crop.
Mm-hmm.
But down South Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, they all grew winter wheat down there.
Mm-hmm.
And-
We grew it in Southwest Iowa, our farm. Fred loved to grow wheat. That was his favorite crop to grow.
Huh.
And you know, the process is exactly the same. The growing is a little bit different,
Mhm.
okay, but the breeding process is the same as spring wheat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What drew you to become this amazing plant geneticist? What was it? Your yearning, your desire to learn more, or to better the food production for the world, or what drew that?
Well, it's kind of funny. I remember as a kid growing up in Dickinson, and you know, at that time they were doing moldboard plowing.
Oh yes.
Okay, and you know, the fields really looked nice afterwards. But I remember my dad always talking and complaining about losing all this moisture. And here, what they were doing is they were turning the soil over, and it was losing this moisture. So my thought was, this doesn't make any sense, you know.
Yeah.
And the same with weeds. And of course, then they didn't have the chemicals they have now.
Right.
So, you know, the thought was in my head that, you know, there's got to be something a little bit different here. I knew I didn't want to farm.
Yeah.
You know, I saw my dad struggling.
Uh-huh.
You know, a large family, not enough land, this kind of thing, and then some bad years. And so I knew I didn't want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, this whole idea of watching things grow and trying to make them grow well, that kind of struck me. When I went to NDSU, you know, I started out in chemistry and mathematics. Especially I was thinking of chemical engineering then. Well, after a year, decided, I don't think so. I like the biological sciences much better.
Uh-huh. Yes.
so that's how I went into agronomy. Well, after I got done with the BS, I started working with DeKalb, and my whole focus then was production research, not genetic research. Okay, and but my first job was in genetic research, plant breeding.
Uh-huh.
And the more I did that, and I had some good mentors, the more I did that, the more interesting it got. And so that's why I decided, I better go back to school for a little bit and learn a little bit more. and really, that's what did it. Just fascinating, what you can do, but with these tedious manipulations.
Yes. Yeah. It allows your mind to expand.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, at that time you were in school, were there internships, summer internships?
I don't know about summer internships, but there were summer jobs. Okay. And, I also worked summers at the experiment station in Dickinson. I was associated with NDSU. And again, I had a couple of great mentors there. And most of that was in testing and production research. Okay, that's another reason I probably was focused on production research. But I spent a couple of summers there. And then my last summer before I graduated, I worked with DeKalb as a summer, as a summer student. So. But I was offered a job after that.
Yes, that often pays dividends that way.
Where is DeKalb located?
DeKalb, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
That's the headquarters.
Uh-huh.
They're owned by Monsanto now, I think.
Excuse me?
They're owned by Monsanto.
Oh, Monsanto. Okay.
Oh, okay. So you've had a variety of opportunities. So what can you think about what has been the most satisfying or one of the most satisfying in your career?
Well, I don't know if there's any one thing that was most satisfying, but one thing I really enjoyed doing was getting out and talking with the farmers and trying to find out what they needed, and then try and make what they needed. And it'd take a long time, but it was really satisfying to be able to hand over something that they really needed, and it was really improvement over what they had. I got to say though, in my last half of my career, I was into a lot of I'm gonna say admin work, because I coordinated research in both soybeans and sunflowers. Sunflowers basically around the world when I retired, and then soybeans I coordinated research in North and South America for a while. And what really kind of struck me and I really enjoyed doing was watching people develop. People that worked, under me, and watching them develop their skills, and even sometimes they'd move on to bigger and better things. But that was probably the most satisfying, was just watching people like their jobs and really developing their skills.
And you helped them find that aha moment.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that can be very satisfying as a teacher.
Herb, what was the most defining moment of your career?
Defining meaning accomplishment, or?
Yes. Or what really do you think was where you made your mark? I know you talked about working with farmers now and with young people underneath you in research, but was that the top of the heap, or was there something else that really brought you personal satisfaction?
besides aha.
You know, I can't say there's one thing, but what was really satisfying was being able to put out a variety or a hybrid that was really accepted by the farmers.
Oh,
We
sure.
did that in wheat. I'm just looking at my chart up here that I still have. The one thing that reminds me of when I worked, okay, was there's like 5 different wheat varieties we developed. One of them stayed around for about 10 years and was very popular.
And so why did it lose popularity?
Well, it's like everything else. You get old. There's new stuff coming.
Yeah.
You have to rub it in, huh? Yeah.
There's quality and maturity, as you know.
Well,
You know, and
Does-
you know the same with the soybeans. I worked out in Ohio with soybeans, so I didn't have much to do with the soybeans here. But out there it was really cool because I worked out to the East Coast, and Maryland had some problems. I worked up in Ontario; they had some special problems, and I developed soybean varieties that fit those areas.
Ah.
And you know, it's really fun when you see people get excited about them.
yeah.
Same with sunflowers. Sunflowers mostly up here in the Midwest, but the one hybrid that I helped work on was still around. It's still around. It's been changed a little bit. Like there's been some herbicide resistance incorporated, natural herbicide resistance, not GMOs.
Okay.
And you know, to see those kind of things happening has been very satisfying.
You bet. You bet.
Yeah.
Herb, we are most grateful that you said yes to our invitation to join us on the 1950s Fun Chat. This has been marvelous lesson for all of us to learn, and the joy that you have brought to you this in plant breeding. It's wonderful. And think of the farmers out there and growers who are so happy that you had the desire to be in the business of plant breeding.
And research.
Well, thank you.
We
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So, viewers, thank you for your attention here, and we hope you learned a little bit, maybe a lot, today. Notice the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Do you know what to do with those? Just make a little click and tell your friends, even your relatives, about our 1950s Fun Chat. So, till next time, toodaloo.
Bye-bye.